This is the Mobile Tech Podcast, brought to you by worldpodcasts.com. Now here's your host, Tech Girl, Miriam Joie.
Brought to you by MediaTek. Hi, and welcome to the Mobile Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Miriam Joie, and today is Friday, November 11th, 2022. I'm at the MediaTek Summit in Sonoma with Finbar Monahan.
Hey, Miriam.
How are you doing,
I'm
Finbar?
great. Good to see you.
Yeah, awesome. Good. So, I'm super excited with the Dimensity 9200, and I kind of hope we can mostly talk about that today.
Sure.
Because, it's going to be very timely for this week's show, number one. And obviously my audience, a bunch of phone nerds, they're going to want to know all about it. So big, exciting news.
Yeah.
You now have millimeter wave.
Mm-hmm.
You have Wi-Fi 7.
Mm-hmm.
You have ray tracing functionality in the GPU. I'm just trying to think, am I missing? There's more.
There is more.
So tell us all about it.
No, we're very excited. So we launched the Dimensity 9200 earlier this week. We talked again more about it at the event yesterday. We're very excited. It's continuing the journey we've been on for many years.
Right.
And as Rick said, our CEO said, we want to address every segment of the 5G space, from entry to flagship. And as you were talking to others about, beyond 5G as well.
Yeah.
So we made that commitment. We've been working strongly for many years now to bring out those high-end solutions. We launched the Dimensity 9000 last year.
Yeah.
We're very happy with the progress. That was obviously a big step and a first step for us. And we knew this was not a one-step journey. This was going to take many, many steps. I think we've built on a lot of that experience internally and with our customers, over the last year that we've learned on the Dimensity 9000. We had a mid-step with the 9000 Plus earlier this year.
Yeah, I think you should remind people that, because I think a lot of people forgot about that.
Yeah, and that showed up in the Asus ROG 6D phone, like a high-end gaming device.
Which made it to Europe.
Exactly.
For you in Europe watching.
Exactly. But now we've launched the Dimensity 9200, right? So, we obviously wanted to keep pushing the performance forward. But MediaTek's philosophy has always been balancing the power and the performance. So, we talk about incredible performance, intelligent power. So you have to be able to have that sustained experience.
That's, if you're mobile, these are the things you want. You want more power, more efficiency every time. Yeah. So which is the biggest challenge for you guys. I'm always amazed at how all the chip makers are able to, every generation, just improve on those things. As somebody who has an engineering background, I can't even fathom how hard that would be.
Yeah. And it is architecture, it is design, it is all the power management system schemes. Of course, it's working with partners like TSMC.
I was going to see manufacturing processes,
the latest process technology.
Yeah, 4 nanometers now.
We talked a lot about packaging technology here to talk about optimizing the thermal performance in the device.
Right.
It all has to come together.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think this is what I think a lot of folks just kind of glance over. They're looking at raw numbers, like the benchmarks and which phone is going to get this and whatever. But ultimately, a lot of the groundwork that gets laid for these chips ends up kind of bringing more improvements on the future chips. It's there's some foundational stuff that happens every time a new chip comes out that ends up lasting a few generations, right? Yeah. And so I think that's the other thing that's in this case, to me, what really stands out is Wi-Fi 7. We're just at the edge of it. I was just talking with James about it.
Yeah.
And it's coming. We're probably going to start seeing some stuff at CES that is actually finished product. And, having that, you might never use that for the first year you have that phone.
But it will
come. But one day you'll get an access point at home that has Wi-Fi 7. And all of a sudden you'll see some performance gains when you transfer data between, your laptop and that's
whatever. I think that's a key point, right? Because we talk about ray tracing, right? We're just at the start of ray tracing showing up in mobile gaming, right?
Right.
So, maybe not all of the games take advantage of it today, but over time, more and more of those are going to become available.
Absolutely.
Wi-Fi 7 is exactly the same. It's not like it's going to necessarily turn on today everywhere you go, right? And it's going to take time, but you want to have that feature in the phone that you've bought next year. In 24 or 25, for example.
Right, absolutely. And also, I think it lights a fire under the industry, wide, bottom, as it were, to get the Wi-Fi 7 going. People are starting to have phones or laptops are coming out.
Yeah,
and
access
so maybe,
points, routers,
maybe yourself, even as somebody on this audience who is going to be a tech savvy early adopter, you're going to say, oh, maybe I should go out and buy, whatever ASUS MediaTek equipped Wi-Fi 7 solution because I now have a phone and I want to benefit from that, and phones it's a little limited, the kind of use case, but I think as James and I were talking about, if you are doing like video editing, you now don't have to be tethered anymore. You can have your file system, in one room and a laptop in another, Wi-Fi 7, right?
Exactly.
And so maybe we'll get to a point where if you're playing, some sort of AR, VR game on your phone, you're going to benefit from better performance while you're at home, where you don't necessarily want to use your 5G connection because it's, maybe you've got some data cap or something on that.
Exactly.
So, stuff like that. And then the other thing I was excited about, I asked a bunch of questions about that yesterday during the summit, is the RGBW pipeline in the ISP, which, it's interesting to me because it's like we've seen some phones with this new sensor with RGBW, the W being white. So you gather more light. It's an effective solution for low light. But it's like we haven't seen a chip yet that has an optimal pipeline built in that the manufacturer can choose to implement
now
if they want to. Yeah, exactly. And so that's another little thing that I think makes a difference. You also have the new ability to, take better advantage of the LTPO displays by varying the frame rate to save power. Because that, you can have the LTPO display, but the chip has to talk to it. It's not like, so if you want to go down to that 1 hertz, 10 hertz, whatever refresh rate, the chip has to support it. So that
is in, again, I think all part of that philosophy of building in technology leading capability. We're not naive enough to assume that everything is going to get turned on in every device all the time, right? But we got to give our customers the options to build those devices. And then it's balancing that with the system level optimizations that we can make that allow, for that consumer experience that's going to be better and better and better.
So give us some broad numbers as like compare, say, to a Dimensity 9000 device like the ASUS, right? Yeah. Say similar implementation from a similar manufacturer or even ASUS themselves. Yeah. What are the gains you can on average expect in terms like, maybe battery life and overall CPU, GPU performance?
And there's a huge range, of course.
Of course. But just as a kind of an idea, because I think our audience is familiar with the 9000.
So, if we look at computing,
right,
we've jumped from, a Cortex X2 to the new Ultra Cortex X3.
Yeah.
What we see, combining the CPU performance, the second generation TSMC process technology N4P, and also the increased memory bandwidth because we've added support for LPDDR5X85.
Oh yeah, there's that too.
That gives us like a 10 to 12% performance improvement for Geekbench computing kind of benchmarks, right?
Kind of stuff.
Now, when we go to gaming and graphics, we've obviously made a significant investment in the performance of the gaming and the graphics. We've gone for the ARM Immortalis G715.
Right.
We've increased to 11 cores, so we're obviously putting more silicon area down for the graphics. So again, a combination of the new IP, increased core number, the memory bandwidth, of course, helps there. There, we're seeing much bigger performance gains, so probably like 30+%.
So this is a huge step from the 9000, right? This new GPU then. Okay.
And at the same time, we're seeing like 30-40% improvement in power efficiency for
overall.
Gaming. So for gaming.
For gaming. Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah. And then if we look at more general use cases, what we see for power consumption advantages is probably something in the 15-20% improvement from the 9000.
Okay.
Depending on the use case. One of the areas where we've made probably the most progress is in Wi-Fi. And because of our new architecture, our new Wi-Fi 7 solutions, 6 nanometer technology there, we're seeing about a 70% improvement in Wi-Fi power consumption year over year from the Dimensity 9000 to the current generation. So that's obviously a very dramatic example.
That's huge, yeah.
So that'll give you a little bit of a feeling, I think, of where we are.
Right. Any, other than the addition of millimeter wave 5G, any changes to the modem that make it a better solution than the 9000, or is it pretty much the same?
So the Dimensity 9200 adds a couple of things. It's really a full-featured Release 16 modem solution.
All right.
So yes, compared to the Dimensity 9000, we've added millimeter wave.
Of course.
8 carriers, so 800 megahertz of millimeter wave bandwidth. We've also increased the sub-6 to 4 carriers. So last year's Dimensity 9000 supported 3 carriers.
Okay.
Still an aggregated bandwidth of 300 megahertz.
Okay.
But now we've give carriers that have more fragmented spectrum the ability to aggregate up to 4 carriers on the sub-6. So that's an advantage.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. You get better performance in low band.
Exactly.
Yeah, nice. And then what else I was going to ask you about? Yeah, so in terms of, product, right? Obviously, I know you can't speak of, what's coming, obviously, specifically, but give us an idea of a time frame of when we can potentially start seeing some of these devices with the D9200.
Days?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Very soon. I would say watch the space.
Oh, my God. So it's that soon. The chips are in production and everything is happening?
It's very imminent.
Fantastic.
And again, I think some of that is, we built some of the momentum with our partners on the 9000 to the 9000 plus.
Right.
So they're, I think, now much more comfortable with the platform, the capability, the ability of the MediaTek solutions to deliver what they want. And we can build on that.
Is it easy if you have a device that has the D9000 implementation to switch over to a 9200?
It certainly builds.
Because I know that's, there's kind of tiers there with the manufacturers.
And, obviously there's new things, but at least the baseline.
Overall,
I think, last year going from where we were to the 9000 was probably a big jump.
Step, yeah.
Going from the 9000 to where we are today for our customers.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
It's more of an incremental step.
Yeah, so it's going to be easier for them to move in.
Yeah, and it's obviously a complex product.
And so I asked this question at Summit as well, but we haven't gone on the podcast. But do you think we're going to see more potential partnership with US products and carrier devices or whatever, since there is a millimeter wave component now? Because I know that the Moto Edge 2022 with the Dimensity 1050 was, that was like you announced it and there it was, and it's a great phone. I reviewed it, I enjoyed it. And, having millimeter wave capability obviously made Verizon very happy because it was a Verizon phone. So, should we expect more from MediaTek on the US market?
Yeah, good question. It's always been we've made solid progress on the US market, as you know, right?
I mean, there's the Revel, there is the T-Mobile OnePlus Nord N300 I've got in my pocket right now.
And many of the analyst firms, IDC, Counterpoint, are now flagging MediaTek as the #1 Android vendor for US phones, which might be a little surprising.
Well, I'm not surprised because you are worldwide as well. No, I know you too, and I know that a lot of the the phones that we don't talk about, which are sold by prepaid carriers, etc., are extremely popular on the MediaTek
and very important for a lot of people.
Absolutely, but I think obviously I'm rooting really hard to see some sort of 9200 Verizon phone or something this year.
I think,
and maybe other people are too.
Well, keep rooting. I think what we're going to see, seriously, I think what we will see is we are going to see with the 9200, the Dimensity 9200, a more global distribution than I think we saw in the first year with the Dimensity 9000. Right. Now, 2 things are going to happen, I think, in 2023. We're going to continue to see new launches of Dimensity 9000 and 9000 Plus devices. So that hasn't stopped.
It's going to continue.
That's going to continue
because it's a parallel thing.
Our customers are going to, because they've made the investment in the platform. It's a really good platform.
It's not very old either, right?
Exactly. It's less than a year. So they can continue to leverage that investment and deliver new devices. And then on top of that, we will see the Dimensity 9200 devices showing up. Cool. We are going to see more global launches. I think, to be fair, they're probably going to be, India, Europe, Southeast Asia,
but that's still
Latin
better
America,
than what we have now.
Exactly.
Right? Because right now, if you look at it, most of the global phones I have with the higher end Dimensity chips, like 8100 and 9000, there's the Asus, really. Yeah. But the 8100 is, and quite a few phones that made it globally.
And that's, yes, exactly. So we've already proven.
So I think you're going to see more of that.
Exactly. Exactly. But the US, I think, is still, it's still quite concentrated at that super high end, the devices. Many of those, as you know, have internal chip solutions that they use.
Yeah.
So the opportunity, I think, for MediaTek in the near term is still to kind of keep moving up into the mid-high tier. Maybe in time we can crack into the higher tiers, but we're not going to give up.
No, but I also feel like, you're priced at a different tier as well, which is advantageous to manufacturers, right? And, your competition is kind of rebadging old chips with new numbers, to, make them available as a lower, cheaper tier, right? And I'm not quite sure they're going to be able to do that with the current set of things.
Well, I think we proved that with the 8000 and the 8100, that you really, because that is a different chip optimized differently from the Dimensity 9000.
Well, of course.
you really do need to optimize for that tier as well. And
Right.
I think that's maybe the secret to some of the success of the Dimensity 8100 and the 8000 over the last year.
I mean, it definitely hits the sweet spot. I've used a few phones. That's really fantastic.
I talked to
Every single one of these phones have been great.
I talked to the internal R&D teams, and I was like, you guys knocked it out of the park with that one.
Well, let's hope we're going to see more 9200s soon and 9000s and 9000 pluses. I'm excited about this chip. I love competition. I think what you guys are doing is awesome.
Thank you.
So, yeah, let's see how it goes. But thanks for being back on the show, Finbar. I really
Always a
appreciate
pleasure,
it.
Miriam.
It's great. And folks, stay tuned. We'll have the rest of the show with my guest, Michael Fisher, in a minute. So, hey, I've got Michael Fisher here.
Hi.
We're going to talk about folding phones.
Why don't we?
Ah, surprise.
For a change.
So
The only
I just
phone
had Finbar on. We talked about Dimensity 9200. Mm-hmm. I want like a one sentence Michael Fisher take on this. Like, what's your gut feeling on this?
On the 9200?
Yeah.
I would like to see it used in, foldables. I actually don't care if it's the 9200 or not. I
Right.
would like to see it used in foldables to bring down their price. Because
Okay.
I feel like, can you tell me, is this speculation? Because you know more about chips than I do. MediaTek SoCs are probably more affordable to manufacturers than, say, Qualcomm
Generally,
ones, right?
yes.
So wouldn't that be nice if foldables, which tend to be very expensive, would utilize an SoC that made them a little bit more affordable, brought down the bill of materials? Let's make it happen. I would have said this at the MediaTek official thing, but of course they're not, like, that wasn't going to go anywhere.
Well, now they can hear it on the show because
Just
they're
a wish
watching.
list item.
So
Yay.
whatever. Hi. So my take on the Dimensity 9200 is I'm really excited because I feel like they're going to get close to 8 Plus Gen 1, I think is what they're going to get close
Performance?
to.
Yeah.
And so that means that it's going to be super competitive. But most importantly, there's got millimeter wave. So maybe we'll see a phone in the US with it. And Moto, if you're paying attention, since you did the Dimensity 1050 and the Edge 2022, maybe we can see an Edge 2023 on Verizon with millimeter wave with a Dimensity 9200. Maybe.
Or, a Razor in the United States with that chipset. A
Razor.
Razor offered for sale in the nation.
But don't you know it's too
devised
wide?
The brand. Not the Razor 2022. No. We'll talk about that, I imagine.
I think we should. That's my take on the D9200. I'm excited, but also I want to see more phones, whether it's US or not. US as a bonus.
I would like to see more in the US, yeah. But again, these are the kind of questions that you can ask if you want at a press event when the Q&A time comes around, but it's the only questions that I tend to want to ask are the ones that they won't or can't answer. So
Yeah,
I'm like,
we kind of, sometimes you have to kind of, choose your battles.
Yeah. Lest you run the risk of becoming the person who starts off a thing at a press event with, this is actually not really a question, it's more of an opinion. It's like, no, stop it.
I've done that.
Guilty. We've all done that.
Okay, so let's talk about this crazy folding iPhone. I mean, wow. I love that the modding world is modding. Like, keep modding, folks. Like, it's just crazy that they did. Like, this is the craziest mod.
It felt to me like 15 years ago, weird edge tech bloggy, because Engadget reported on it, the link you sent me, and I was like, this is the kind of stuff he used to read about. People were like, my Palm i500 doesn't have a Bluetooth module, so I opened it up and put in a Bluetooth module.
That's how I got famous.
Yeah, so this reminds me of that, except this is inspired.
A whole new dimension.
I want to give them credit. This is
this is up there with people who reflow chips on MacBook motherboards to add more storage or RAM.
Yes.
Or switch CPUs sometimes and stuff.
Way more exciting.
Way more exciting. Because what excites me the most is they did a software thing, right?
Yes.
Where they actually made it split screen and stuff.
Well, let's talk about what it is. It's the Aesthetics of Science and Technology. That's what I was looking for, the YouTube channel name, which is pretty cool.
Ooh, that's
China-based
a cool name.
YouTube channel name. And what did they do? They took 3D printed custom elements, but they basically took a Motorola Razr of some generation, 2019 or 2020 hinge and chassis, right?
Yeah.
And then ripped the display off an iPhone 10.
Well, it took them 50 tries or something because so the iPhone is an iPhone 10X, whatever.
Yeah.
And because they're commonly available, and in China you can do Shenzhen and get displays literally for $20, right? But they kept buying. So displays are have a touch layer, these are OLEDs, so they have a whole lot of layers. But their plastic OLED layer, like the actual display part and the touch part, are flexible.
So if you can take all the rigid stuff off the top.
Correct, but it's factory bonded. Like so, every time they did it, they would break a screen. Like lines would appear, something would happen, or it would crack, or whatever. So it took them like something like 50 screens, and like they created this jig that was heated. Like they would burn their fingers on it because it was heated to kind of like delaminate the display.
Wow.
It's just, I mean, they said that they took them like months, but
Just to get the
eventually they
display.
got one display that worked.
And then they put that into this custom razor.
Yeah, so they cut the chassis in half, like sawed it in half after removing all of it, the guts on it, so that they could then somehow adapt the hinge to that and then build 3D printed parts to make the two. And then once they had that, they had to find a way to put all the guts back in. Turns out the motherboard fits, but the battery, it's an L shape on the iPhone 10.
On the iPhone 10,
so
yes.
there's two pieces, so they were able to grab one of them, keep one of them, and remove the other one.
Two batteries. So they grabbed one of the batteries. So what did you say? It was like, it's like 1,000 milliamp hours? Yeah, so it lasts like 2 hours.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's a proof of concept, right?
Exactly.
And they kept the Taptic engine. They removed one of the two speakers.
Yep.
But they were able to get most of it. Oh, and
No wireless
charging coil.
Yeah, that's gone. Yeah, of
but
course.
they're basically able to make a phone that was functional, and then they jailbroke it because that wasn't enough. They jailbroke it, and they wrote software that let you do kind of split screen in some apps.
And that's kind of what I'm talking about. Like, that's why it deserves all the praise it's getting. It's not like they never stopped and said, that's enough. We can't do that. They kind of. I love that there's that cherry on top of that. Yeah, we jailbroken and made a couple custom.
This is the ultimate mod as far as I'm concerned.
It's seriously so cool.
Now they've said that it's starting to fall apart, so they're not. Like they're going to try to perfect it though.
Yeah,
they said that they want to try to improve the process. It's crazy.
Watching the video, watching them
show it real quick.
Watching them physically try to like get that screen into that custom hinge and just like force it. Oh, it's crazy.
Watch the video. I'll link it in the show notes.
You should watch the video.
Unreal, and it's beautifully produced. On top of that,
it also
with like stop motion and like phone calls between them, where like, hey, I tried this, it didn't work. We got to spend another $100. Like literally, and then they decaled iPhone stickers on the hinge.
iPhone on the hinge. Like, there's great attention to detail in the whole thing. Yeah, definitely recommend the video. It's so cool.
It's so cool. Yeah. And you know what? I think that I've seen a lot of iPhone users really fawn over the flip.
Yes.
The various flips we've seen, whether it be the Moto or the Z Flip.
True.
And Theo, my spouse, actually went ahead for their second phone when they needed a new number in Canada, got me to buy them a Z Flip 3.
What color?
I think it's the pink one.
Purple one is the best.
I know, but they wanted the pink one.
Oh, wait.
Not pink, the cream one.
Oh, yeah, that one's also nice.
I like that one.
Yeah.
It's pink because their case is pink. But it's the cream one. Anyway, the point is that they don't like Android much. They're finding it very confusing.
Yeah, well.
But they are learning, and I sent them videos of tutorials because I'm not very good at teaching people how to use things.
Yeah.
But they still have their iPhone on the US number, and they're like, I want this in an iPhone. And I've heard this from so many people, and this is it.
Yep.
This is the first kind of glimpse at what Apple could deliver.
And we're seeing, like, usually when you see a new manufacturer jump into the foldable space, they're picking one of two of the form factors.
Into the fold,
hashtag, if you will. They're either doing the book format, full-size foldable, or they're doing the clamshell. And the clamshells are what I think a lot of normal folks are flocking to.
Even I prefer. I mean, I love this, what you're using here, which is the Xiaomi.
The Xiaomi.
But I feel like, for me, I'm not as much of a multitasker screen real estate junkie. So I like the idea of like, I make it smaller and then I've got a full size. And that's what Theo says too. They're like, look at how big my games look on this, because they're used to an iPhone SE.
Oh, right. So that's
right. So they're coming to
tall,
like now they have a 6.7 inch of real estate to play with, and they're like, "Oh my god, this is the best thing ever." I'm like, but it's only the best thing because they can collapse it because it's too big otherwise.
No, absolutely.
They look at my Pixel and they always want to throw it somewhere. I have to like catch it before it goes on my hands.
This is too big.
Too big. I hate it. Throw it out.
Which is funny because that's the opposite of, when we got the Galaxy Fold first in terms of, well, wait, what came out first? The Razr 2019, right?
Yes. I remember LA?
It was, but was the Galaxy Fold announced before the Razr? Because I think the Galaxy Fold was
No,
announced
it
that
wasn't
spring.
announced. It was shown at their developer conference on stage.
Yes, and then we saw it at like a spring launch in San Francisco, I think. So we saw the Fold. We knew the Fold was coming, but the Razr launched first.
Yes.
So we actually had both
Which is
categories.
also why it was so buggy.
Well, yeah, you know, that was a tough time. But like, there was a war in the comments, is my point. Like everybody, you would run a post about the Razr or about when the Z Flip landed, and all the nerds who make up the core, and I say nerds lovingly, you know this, who make up the core 1% of our audiences were like, there's a high bias toward pragmatism and practicality in that cohort.
Yeah.
So they're all like, this stupid little flip, it's dumb. If you're going to get a foldable, get the big one. I can do a lot more. I'm like, you don't get it. You don't get the fun factor. Like it doesn't always have to be about productivity. Sometimes it can just be
And why not
portability
both?
and fun.
Which is what we have now.
Hashtag
why not
both?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
No, that's a good point. I think that this iPhone thing, I mean, it's notable on so many levels. Like the level of modification.
Yeah.
The third, like just the way they put together, like the thoroughness of the documentation of the process. Like this video is so detailed. It's really long. Like I actually didn't watch the whole thing. I just kept skimming through because it's just like, and then I'd be like, what did I just see? And rewind and actually watch 2 minutes of it.
Yeah.
Like it's just like amazing. And then you've got the fact that it's an iPhone and it's actually working.
Yeah.
And they were able to show that the software can be adapted to work. And like, you know,
Just a nice preview of what we might see from Apple.
I just really hope, like, my hopes are so low with Apple because they sit on their laurels so much.
Yeah, but they're already, like, I felt the vibe kind of calm down on iPhone 14. We've seen it, I think, in the sales numbers as well.
Yeah.
You know, like, even with the dynamic
But is
island
that
and the
due
new
to
cameras.
the economy, though? People are struggling. Like
Probably
I mean,
has
I
a-
look at the price of a sandwich right now.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where I travel. I'm not saying SF or Vancouver. Like, this is bad.
So many people are not like looking at the sticker price, the unlocked price. They're buying it on a carrier deal
Yeah,
with a crazy
right,
trade-in.
right,
You know, it's
right.
like, I think it really is.
That's a good point.
If it was something wild, like a foldable, like the first folding iPhone, I think you'd certainly see a lot more buzz about it because people, I think a lot of folks looked at the 14 and said, yeah, well, the dynamic island is nice, but it doesn't really do an awful lot. And the cameras are better, but like the cameras on the 13 are great. So like, And I feel like Apple is smart enough to realize that it needs to shake things up, and we're not ready for Apple glasses. So.
I hope,
or they're not ready.
No, you're right, and I hope that's gonna happen because here's the way I look at it right now. You know, we're gonna get a USB-C port maybe for a couple of generations until they go full wireless. But
yeah.
Other than that, we're gonna see very incremental improvements in camera. I mean, I actually personally feel, and again, I don't own an iPhone 14 Pro, but having played with a few, shot with a few, like photos with a few, having talked to a few people who own them and love them. I think that Apple's done something really impressive with that 48 megapixel camera when you start shooting in ProRAW.
I guess. Probably.
And,
yeah.
And I mean, it's not going to stop me from using a Pixel 7 or a Galaxy S22 Ultra, or 7 Pro in my case. But I feel like this is a big step forward. This is a bigger step forward, I think. This is like the 12. The 12, from the 11 to the 12 was a big step forward in camera.
Yeah,
and
it was.
From the 13, it was a slightly improvement. But the 13 to the 14, for everyday usability, you don't see a huge difference. But in terms of what it's doing, how they redid their pipeline, I think it's a big change for them.
That's probably true.
48 megapixel for them, that was a big deal.
Yeah.
It's the same with, look at Google Pixel 6 and 6 Pro last year. It was kind of messy at first because they had the first time using pixel binning.
I think from a architecture perspective, you're absolutely right. I don't get like camera specs don't get me off. And when that is the only differentiator of real note, besides the, like, I'll talk about the dynamic island for 20 minutes. I think that's fun. I like interface a lot better. It is
cool.
But it's kind of like the demos that we see at press events now, whether you're talking about camera samples or gaming examples. It's like, look at these shadows. Look how much cooler these shadows are with ray tracing. And I'm sitting there with really good eyes going like
what?
Yeah, it's a little bit, I guess. Like,
no, the demo that had me like completely like going, which side is which? Was the 8K or whatever?
With the rock in the desert?
The part where they show like the AI enhancements. And I'm like, wait, I think this side's better. And they're like, no, that's not the process side. I'm like, oops.
Oh, all right. But that's the thing. That's kind of where we are in tech now broadly. You know, you're at this place where all the things are so iterative. They're so minor. And they're being given 20 minutes of stage time or a ton of commercials to be like, look how much better. And you're like, you know what? No, my thing is 3 years old and it's fine. I think that's where a lot of people are at right now, especially to your point on the economy. So that's one of the reasons I love foldables so much, because they are demonstrably different and they are a very different user experience. So
For sure.
thankfully, we have another company.
All right.
Bring
Oppo
another stuff.
Find N2 has been leaking all over the place. Ice Universe has a pretty picture on the feed. You got it up
That's
there?
right. Let me go see if I can find that
Bring it
again.
real close with the ultra wide.
But I think this might be a photo of the what's it called?
Of the
the
old
old one.
one?
Yeah. I'll try and find it while you
Anyway,
describe.
so Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, same form factor, thinner and lighter, of course.
Same form factor as the Find N, which was a one-of-a-kind form factor.
I love
for
that
foldables.
form factor for me because that is actually like, I don't treat it like a tablet when it's open. I just treat it like a phone in landscape mode.
Yeah, it's just
kind
a
of weird
wide,
way,
like a wide, more square phone.
yeah.
Yeah. But then when it collapses, it's more like a clamshell.
Yeah,
Like it's a weird in between.
It's like an iPhone Mini when you hold it collapsed.
yes,
and
yeah.
that's pretty dope.
The N2 is supposed to weigh less than the iPhone
Way
Pro
less,
Max.
thinner, and a Mary Silicon X.
Yeah, what is that? Is that their pipeline?
That's their
imaging?
NPU that's in the Oppo Find X5 Pro.
Okay, what does that
Only so
enable?
far. It enables incredibly good low light video and low light photography.
Really?
Yeah, it's really good, especially on video. There it is. Is
No,
that the one?
everybody's
That's not the one.
running images of the Find N
the
because
old
nobody
one.
knows
Yeah,
what the new
nobody
one looks
knows.
like.
Okay.
So
Anyway.
there's no photos.
Anyway, the point is that I love that form factor. I'm excited to see another follow up, and more importantly, 8 Plus Gen 1 is such a great chip.
Yep.
And I just want phones with it. So
Great because battery life and efficiency, and that's
Exactly.
what I'm mostly into. Also, Oppo is rumored to be doing another device too, right?
Flip as well. So
Yeah.
we're hearing rumors that they're going to do a flip like the Z Flip, and like Huawei did. Like who else has done? Oh well, TCL.
TCL,
Poor
RIP, Motorola,
Of course, now with the new Razr 2022. So I mean, we don't know much more. Like I'll just put the link to GSM Arena. You can read up on it. It's good news because I think the Mary Silicon X is a very impressive ISP complement. Like it helps with the AI processing, and especially in low light.
Which would be great because one thing foldables have been lagging behind on is camera
cameras.
quality.
Yeah.
So anything to help with that would be great.
Before we dive into some of the phones we've been playing with, let's talk about the Honor announcement. So Honor also announced that they're making a follow-up to the Honor Magic V called the Honor Magic VS.
Did you go hands-on with the Magic V?
I did.
I have not.
I only did in Instagram Reel, Short, whatever they're called.
Were you at a trade show?
It was at MWC.
Ah, jealous.
I did a video. It was all about sexiness.
yeah.
It's so sexy. Orange.
Yeah, that
So
leather.
hot. Yeah.
I love a leather back on a phone.
It's really nice. So I'm looking forward. Like we don't know much about it. This is a teaser. It's launching on the 23rd of November. So come back on 23rd of November.
But it looks like
Show it.
so. The teaser, if you look at it
Looks thin.
too quickly, it can be unremarkable. But it looks almost as thin as the device I'm holding, the Xiaomi Mix Fold 2,
Yeah.
which is thinner than a Surface Duo 2, which is crazy. So if
Yeah.
that's in the same kind of neighborhood, that would be interesting.
I mean, this is a good segue because we don't know anything about this phone really. Like we just know it's coming
We don't.
on the 23rd,
Yeah.
and so stay tuned, kind of thing.
And it'll probably have a Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1.
Maybe.
Wouldn't that be
What if it has
the
Gen next one?
No, it's not. It's too soon. It's too soon because
Last time it was right after Qualcomm did the thing in Hawaii, and Qualcomm is doing the thing in Hawaii.
that would be really cool. But I don't. That would be why. What is this? Currently, it is unknown whether Honor plans to introduce other smartphones, with the Magic 5 reported to be at a late stage of development with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2.
That's more like it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got this phone in your hand, and it's OMG sexy thin.
Xiaomi Mix Fold 2. They dropped the Mi, right?
Yes.
Mix Fold 2. Yes, it's sexy.
Look at it.
And when you close it, it's just like a regular phone, and it's not even that much thicker than like a Pixel.
No, you don't have it in a case because you're one of those
course
naked
not.
people. But this is my Pixel 6 Pro, my old one,
Yeah.
because I have a 7 Pro, but I haven't fully transitioned. It's smaller than the Pixel,
Than a Pixel 6
Pro
Pro
or
in a
7
case.
Pro in a freaking case.
But I mean, like, even though it is a little bit thicker, it's also like it's not. It's the same weight. I say in my video, it's the same weight as the Galaxy Fold 4, but it seems lighter because it is so much thinner and so much sleeker. Like I say, when you open it up, it is 0.1 millimeters thinner than the Surface Duo 2.
That's insane.
Which is nuts. And
okay, wait a minute. Like, you got to show this. This is the part that blows my mind. The plug here is thicker than the phone it's plugged into.
The USB-C cord is thicker. Yeah, the port is. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's nuts. And even though they had to like sacrifice on the camera, they had to put the camera on this raised plinth.
That's fine.
It's still, they did it beautifully. And what I love about it is, do you remember the first one of these, the first foldable from Xiaomi?
Yeah.
It was from last year, and it was a dumb, cheap ripoff of the Galaxy Fold Gen 1 is what it looked like.
That's right.
It felt like trash. It looked like trash. It was garbage.
Very much a first effort.
Ugh. And to go from that to this, I mean, this is a remarkable piece of equipment, as Dr. Soren would say.
But, as you said in your review, Chinese software.
Chinese software, I weirdly don't hate it. And do you know why? I finally took, I think Ben Sin is the leader in giving
Ben
this
Sin
advice.
is the leader.
But in this particular advice, like just going into settings for every app that you're missing notifications from,
And
because
make
Chinese
sure
software,
they don't
make sure
black
auto start is on and make sure battery saver is disabled. And what do you know? I get my notifications now.
So that's fixed.
So that is fixed on this.
But you can't change the launcher.
Software.
You can't change the messaging app.
I don't know if you can change the launcher.
Usually you can.
Sometimes, yeah, but there are some cool ideas in it, like. On the Galaxy Fold, you build an inner home screen and an outer one. They're separate.
Yeah.
On this one, the inner home screen is the same exact thing that you get.
Who else does that? Oppo Find N.
Oppo Find N and the Vivo X Fold as well.
X Fold as well.
Common implementation. So I think that's kind of interesting. It's nice not having to. That'll be a subjective thing. Some people like to build separate spaces for innie and outie, and I get it.
Yeah.
I kind of like the efficiency of being like, this is kind of like a peek into the inside when you close it.
So, any other drawbacks? Like, does it have wireless charging?
It does not have wireless charging.
Okay.
Sad.
Cameras, any good?
The camera, the primary camera is quite good. It outdoes the HDR performance. It outdoes the Flip 4 HDR performance, which I know isn't a high bar, but still. The only thing is the optical is only 2x. And I wish they hadn't wasted space if they're just going to put a 2x telephoto.
Yeah, basically it's just the cheapest telephoto implementation. Kind of like the Find X5 Pro only has a 2x without OIS.
Which is a bummer because, I understand that, but it's a sacrifice.
Yeah.
You want the thinnest foldable ever with
What's
a really...
the price point too? Because it's probably affordable.
When you import, I think it's around $1,500. So it's really not bad considering
that's not bad at all.
Here,
no, I mean
how much bigger the displays are.
The front display doesn't even have bezel. So I just wanted to for the people listening right now, going, why are they talking about stuff they're showing on video? Well, maybe it's because we make a video version of this podcast that you have to pay for.
Look at that.
I mean,
join me. I'm a patron.
I know. Patreon has, support for this awesome new tier that I have, which is you get the video version 2 days or so ahead of the audio version. And more importantly, I kind of edit less. The last 2 shows, you got 10 extra minutes because I ran over.
Really?
So there's actually content that you won't get for free anywhere else.
That I didn't know.
So for example, last weekend me and Chris Davies were talking. And we'd spend 10 minutes talking about the Kia EV6. And I realized at the end that I was going to have an hour and a half long podcast. And I've always decided 1:15 was my max. So I cut that out of the audio version. But of course, on the video version, why would I cut that out?
Bonus content.
Right. So, consider joining the Patreon. Patreon.com/TNKGRL, like Tank Girl. And then you get there's a Discord you can join. And there is a bunch of other perks. So check it out. But the video version, is awesome. It's 2 days early usually, and it's a little bit more raw. Like maybe if the FedEx guy rings the doorbell, I don't cut that out.
That's the kind of content
that way you feel
want.
That way you feel like you're right there with us. Anyway, you're happy with this?
Very happy.
Would you replace your Fold? How are the bands in the U.S.?
The band support has been okay, but I live in Brooklyn, so I have pretty good coverage.
Good everything.
There, but it's been, even here, where are we? Sonoma. The Google Fi SIM is in there, and it works just fine. Or actually, I think I downloaded an eSIM. But it works great. The thing is, I can't carry it because of that. Look, the camera is good, but you need better. At least a 3x. Like, I was annoyed at Samsung for only putting a 3x in the Fold 4, but at least, look, I live in
a place where I like to zoom a lot. Remember?
Yeah.
I've got 5x. I'm better than you.
Also, though, as much as I don't hate the launcher, there are things that are just every day when you have to do it, when you're like, swipe down. Oh, I didn't swipe down from the right part of the screen, so I got the utility thing instead of the notification. Like, there's all those little annoying things about China market software.
So what you guys can't see off screen is that this cup has been leaking the whole time, and like there's like an entire puddle on the table over here.
I brought the coffee, so that's my fault.
No, it's delicious. Good. I mean, for hotel cheap
for hotel conference coffee. Yeah,
hotel conference coffee. Ooh. All right, so yeah, I mean, so you would say, like, say people live in Europe or Asia and they can import this because it's China only, right?
Yeah,
because it's got Leica branding and everything.
Oh yeah, the Leica brand too. Yeah. They really went
and
minimum
there's
effort
Leica
on
color
that.
signs too, right?
There are 2 modes. It's Leica Authentic and Leica Vibrant, and I can't tell the difference between them.
The Vibrant, I think, is a little more like,
saturated.
What's it called? Slide film. Like more shadows, more contrast, more color.
But you remember when Leica had custom modes on the Huawei's?
Yeah.
You could tell. And they did a black and white one that was beautiful.
Oh my God, the black and white!
It's like there's none of that. It's almost like they got the light licensing package. Okay, they got the diet Leica.
Well, that's possible because they have this weird partnership right now. But that's actually a good segue for the next thing.
Oh yeah.
So would you recommend it to Europeans? And
yes.
Yeah.
If the 2x optical telephoto doesn't bother you, and the battery life is great for a thin phone.
And of course, if you don't miss wireless charging, but I don't care at this point. I look at this thing; it's so cool. I just want it.
I really love it.
But speaking of Xiaomi and Leica, last week with Chris Davies, we kind of went nuts about this Leica 12S Ultra concept, which basically replaces the middle ultra wide with another 1-inch sensor, and then has a way to mount an adapter that then takes standard Leica lenses on it.
Yeah.
And so we were saying, and I want your take on this, that we think they should make 10,000 of them for $10,000 each or $5,000, whatever, some crazy amount, and then they should make it available to, just to make a point. And because it's Leica, the lenses are expensive, that's why I'm thinking 10,000. But so that's not happening. It's a concept. But now they have a limited edition.
Now they have this.
So this limited edition
it's a gift box, the limited edition gift box for the 12S Ultra.
Right. So it's not a modified phone like the concept was. Okay. This is the regular 12S Ultra.
And it's got
what they do is there's a case that comes with this. It's a nice leather and metal case. And the case itself, here you go, Patreons, have a look, has a threaded kind of thing on it that lets you mount filters and hoods.
A lens cap, it looks like. It looks like they took the idea
so
from the Leica
show the
phone.
box because it has so it has a hood. And there we go. So it has a hood and some filters, like there's an ND filter and a polarizer. Anyway, and it all comes in a beautiful case and it's all fancy and it's expensive. But it's interesting because it's kind of like a halfway step because this is actually the official device. It's not like modified hardware. It's just a case. It's so cool.
It's so ridiculous and in a very fun way. But it reminds me of the Leica phone. You remember a year ago?
And they're making a second one.
Are they really?
Yeah, I heard rumors of that.
They would be great because I would love that phone again. It was like Christmas Day. I'm taking a walk around my hometown, shooting black and white in a drizzly Christmas Day mood with the Leica phone. It was
amazing.
Oh, it was so cool. Sadly, the phone didn't work. Its digitizer sucked, and the phone was basically broken. But the camera was so cool.
Yeah, so I mean, it's interesting. I would love for them to take that concept, which has a separate 1-inch sensor flush mount on the back, so you can have actual lenses mount on it and stuff.
Yeah.
I want them to do that as a limited edition. But this is a pretty good step in the right direction. It's kind of a cool, and it's really I think the Leica on that phone is more real Leica than the kind of pseudo Leica that's on the mix.
Yeah, probably right. I don't know. I think for camera,
I've played with it.
Yeah.
Juan Bagnell has one, and it's incredible.
The 12S.
Yeah. It's that sensor. You've never seen bokeh like this on a phone.
Mm-hmm.
It is the creamiest of creamy, delicious, crispy cream filling in the creamy goodness. It's amazing. Sorry, that didn't work, did it?
Hey, they can't all be winners.
All I'm saying is that check out the photo he's taken.
Oh.
He's taken photos. I swear they come from a DSLR. You can tell that they're one step above everything else.
Cool.
And it's full auto. He's just taking pictures of his kids and you're like, holy depth of field. And look at the detail in the hair. And you're like, what? Like, I don't know. It's clarity of the lens, quality of the sensor, also lots of light in this case.
I think it just bums me out a little bit just because I know that something like that requires so much space and it's not
Plus,
anytime
you
soon.
only do folding phones. What do you
It's not. That's what I'm saying. It's not anytime soon going to come to a foldable because the foldables are so space constrained to begin with. So I'm like, I'm missing out on a great, amazing camera. But whatever.
I'll put a link in the show notes for those of you not watching on video. But anyway, the thing is, it's cool. And as a I'm bringing this up because you're also not just a foldable phone junkie. You're form factor junkie.
Yeah.
Right? And to me, anything that goes, like the whole idea of being able to, even if I'll do it 3 times, the idea that I can put a real Leica lens on my phone anytime I want is kind of stupid, but awesome.
I said this when Red was making its Hydrogen 1 phone.
Oh my
It's much
God.
maligned Hydrogen 1. And look, they got a lot wrong on that phone. But I think, unfortunately, that and all the other distractions tended to take away from this cool idea they had, which is like phone, sled attachment with sensor, and now you can put whatever lenses you want on it. And like, look, if I could come on a trip like this, I've said this a billion times, and not bring my camera body, I'd still bring my lenses. But if I could leave my Sony A7S III body at home, that's a substantial weight savings.
Yeah.
And just throw my lenses onto a phone, which already has a much bigger screen, a brighter
And you
screen.
can now automatically save to, whatever cloud service you
I
want.
don't have to transfer footage.
You might want to do a quick edit for Instagram on the
do
spot.
it right there.
Right?
Yeah.
Before you go to Lightroom and go nuts.
The only downside is that it wouldn't have a reversible viewfinder, which I do need. So I guess I would probably still carry my body. So maybe it's not a great idea for my use case. But
For you, it has to face you.
got to be able to see yourself. Got to be your own cameraman.
That pretty face.
That's right. No, it's a hungover, bloodshot face.
We're all a little tired. Okay, so Moto Razr 2022. We've talked about it extensively on the show, of course, because now it's available globally. But I've never used one, and you have one.
Yeah, but
not with you, but you have one.
And that's a good indication of how I typically feel about things. It's like,
Oh, so wait, your original Razr, or so your 5G is more to your liking?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
The 5G is a complete thought. The 5G is a design masterpiece. Say what you will about the 765G or whatever people are
I
complaining
don't
about.
think that's a problem.
No, me either.
It's got OS on the camera.
And
Put the Google camera on there and you're good to go.
It has legitimate sacrifices that meant a lot of people shouldn't have bought it, and they didn't. But it's such a beautiful piece. And then Motorola took that. It respected the lineage of the Razr while also evolving the conversation forward. And it did things better than other clamshell foldables with that beautiful outer display. And then Motorola said, cool, so for 2022, we'll take a similar feature set, put it in this weird, wide coaster, big, chunky thing.
Those weird bezels?
And the beveled sides.
Oh, that's what I meant, bevels.
The bevels on the sides, and then we're going to throw the same display size in there, and we're not going to blend it at all. So that it looks like you're carrying around a digital picture frame you would give your grandmother in 2006. Like that's how it looks, and it's such
I'm still processing how
design.
many non-compliments that is.
Yeah.
1, 2,
well,
3.
it's just, and design is subjective. So if
Holy crap.
it's okay to like a phone. If you out there disagree and think it looks better than the Razr, that's totally cool. There are a lot of people who didn't like the chin. I don't mean to say that my interpretation is the only one. It's just that if they had called it the Motorola Turbo Flip or the Motorola Max or something, it's just that you're calling it a Razr, and not only is it the Moto Flip Max, sure,
there you go.
Not only is it not a Razr, it's not thin, there's nothing sharp on it, but it's not available in the United States. It's not available anywhere but China.
Well, it's global right now.
Now they did a UK. Yeah, that's right.
Version.
Sorry, but it's still not sold in the US.
No,
and so it's like, cool, Motorola or Lenovo or whoever made these decisions, like.
This is a Lenovo decision.
Yeah.
Do
you remember trying to drag that answer out of them in Chicago?
It has Lenovo written all over it.
You were the only one who got maybe the answer, and I got it third hand. I heard from someone else that you had gotten an answer.
I mean, the answer I got is that I think this has been months now, and the phone is out, and we've all seen it now.
It was a long time.
It's the carriers in the US supposedly some carrier, I don't know which one. You can make
Probably
up your mind.
Verizon.
Big V maybe.
Big V makes a lot of calls for
It's
Motorola.
too wide, and I'm like, I haven't seen it. Yes, it is wide.
So can I say that? Can I make that point? I don't think they made the wrong decision by not releasing it here.
No, I agree.
It offends me.
And I haven't used it, but just looking at it, watching your review, I was like,
I think that carrier, if that is true, was correct. And I think Motorola PR, whom I'm on very good terms with, and tried to get me a unit and then ultimately failed. Like, if I were them, even if I could have gotten me a unit, I wouldn't have done it either because they probably knew what I was going to say, which is what I said in my video.
But in the context of where we were at when we visited them in the summer, in our minds, this was an evolution of what you like, the 5G. And we couldn't picture how bulky and like I thought a little wider is fine. And that's why I'm like, how can they be mad about it slightly? I mean, the flip is a little wider than the regular Razer 5G.
Right.
And it's fine. Like now Chicago was a little wider again, and that was getting a little chunky. But this is even wider than Chicago, right?
This is
the TCL phone.
The TCL phone, yes. This is the widest flip. Like it's weirdly wide. That's what they should have called it. But you know what? Also,
Moto weirdly wide max turbo.
Oddly wide. But you know what? I'll tell you, there are some things there are a lot that get right. If you just want to buy a clamshell that is objectively good, like it suits that case. Like its display is beautiful. Its camera is weirdly quite good.
Yeah, that's probably pretty good. Like we're not saying it's a bad phone.
No,
we were saying that we now understand the hesitation they had when we asked them why is it not coming to the US.
Yeah.
And we also, at the same time, lament the fact that they had a kind of a cool form factor, chin or not, with the super thin and sharp looking, and that's appropriately named Razer.
Yeah, and when the Razer, do you remember how hot the Razer 2019 was and how excited everyone was and how excited we were? We were all just nerding out. There was this momentum, there was this potential that you had a manufacturer who was going to at least act as a check on Samsung.
Yeah.
And when Motorola couldn't build enough 2020 Razers and then waited 2 years to give us this monstrosity, there's no meaningful competition to Samsung in the clamshell segment right now.
And I hate to say it, but having played with the Z Flip 3 and the Z Flip 4, the Z Flip 3 was such a step forward. And then the 4 is incrementally better, but significantly improved again.
No, they're running away with it.
You're like, there's no way anybody can catch up. Like, that's how I feel like right now. I feel like on these tablet folders, there is some competition. Like
Definitely.
We've seen some, like the Xiaomi here, we've seen some others that
Samsung's
were really
got that
cool.
crease and the design language is
But
old.
honestly, on the flip, like right now, I hate to say this, but unless you're in China, living there, and the Huawei will do the job for you, which is they're super cool.
Oh, the P50
the
Pocket. Yeah.
Right, that's super cool.
That's
right. Unless you like in this market where it makes sense, I think you would be nuts not to buy a Z Flip 4 right now.
Yeah.
Like absolutely, there's no competition.
Which is why if Oppo makes something compelling in the flip and flip or whatever,
flip and that would be cool.
I mean, that would be awesome. We need that, and that's why we were so disappointed when TCL canceled Chicago.
Flip.
Oppo find and flip. Flip and find. they can't all be winners.
So tired, Michael. No, actually, I'm not that tired. I'm just thinking about how our brains are racing right now.
Zap.
Oh man. Yeah, no, I don't know. But I saw your review and I could feel your pain.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And now I can feel the pain of the PR people at Moto that we love and we like and we understand where you're coming from. But at the same time, if you're paying attention, anybody at Lenovo and Moto, please make a successor to the Razer 5G that just, you don't have to do too much. Just like maybe
another beautiful object.
Snapdragon 7 Gen 1.
Yeah, sure.
Doesn't even have to be a flagship. I don't care. I mean, if you want to go nuts, put an 8 Plus Gen 1 in there.
The thing is that Motorola is not making bad decisions from a business perspective. It's doing better than it has in a very long time by leaning into this Moto G, Moto E, budget, mid-range. And good, look, brands exist to make money. If you think that that's where your resources are best utilized, then making another Razer that probably won't sell well, then fine. But
I mean, look, case in point, I've got the OnePlus and Nord N300 5G, $228 on T-Mobile.
I was wondering what that smell was.
And it's nothing to it. It's just a $200 5G phone. It's got a MediaTek chip in it. Hello. But the point is that this is a great phone for the money.
What? How much is it?
$228.
Oh, nice.
And it's a solid phone for the money. It's just the problem is that this is perfect for North America, but it would be get decimated in India or China or Europe.
Yeah.
Because at that price you can get.
range, yeah.
But here it's great, and so that's what kind of Moto is doing with the. They no longer do the E's actually. The G now spans from all the way from what the E used to be to almost like mid-range, like $400, $500.
Yeah.
So
with the stylus too.
Yeah, and so they're doing that, and I think it works for them clearly. And I'm bringing up the OnePlus because it was announced last week, and now I have it. But mostly because it's the same thing. This is only going to help OnePlus. As much as we, all us nerds, want to see flagships from OnePlus, this is where they make more money right now, on the N series, the North America Nords. And by the way, the CE series, the Communauté Européenne, the European Nords. That's how I figured out. That's how it's. They have the Nord, like the real mid-range Nords, like the proper Nord.
Yeah.
The Calpe Vision Nord, which is up there with like the Nothing Phone 1 and the $500 price point. And then they have, that are very, very well-balanced phone, but not fully flagship, like premium mid-range. And then you have the Nord CE, which is the European Nords. And then you have the Nord Ns, which are the North American Nords. And then there's the India Nords, which are kind of all over the place.
Could you pass me that gun?
I mean, we could have an entire podcast about OnePlus strategy. The point I'm trying to make is, because we're talking about Moto, and you said, like, they make good business decisions, and as much as we don't like the fact that OnePlus has been doing some weird crap in the mid-range and high-end phones, this is working for them in North America.
It is. It's just a shame that you seem to have to choose if you're a company of these sizes. You need to excel in that budget mid-range space, or you need to excel in the flagship space. That nobody is doing that except for Samsung. But everyone else has chosen one or the other. I don't even
think you can make mid-range phones happen in the US, because you either buy prepaid and you buy this for $228 on T-Mobile prepaid,
or you get a
like Metro by T-Mobile, or you get a subsidized OnePlus 10T or iPhone 14 or whatever Galaxy S22, and you don't care.
Yeah,
and so we don't, but in other markets, they have that. They have that $500 price point.
That was one of the nice things about going to Iceland, because it was the first time I had left the country in several years, and I'm looking around and I'm phone watching. And it was such a pleasure, because I get so tired in the U.S., particularly in New York City. It's so boring. Everyone has an iPhone. And because they're iPhones, you can't tell them apart until you get 2 inches away anyway. You're like, the lenses, got the 14, cool. Who cares? In Iceland, it's like Android phone, weirdo Android phone, a little foldable iPhone, another Android phone, a little weird budget Android. Like, that was cool. I forgot how cool the rest of the world was.
When I was in Berlin for IFA, I just loved seeing literally genuinely seeing Oppo phones and Vivos, and like not as many Vivos, but like, and Xiaomi's, Pocos, and like Redmi's and Realme's, and I'm like, oh my god,
these are out in the wild.
Like, this is like, it's like a flora and fauna of phones out there. Like, we're so, like, for those of you living abroad, listening to the show, watching, it's like so difficult when we're the only ones peddling the cool stuff in our pockets all the time.
It goes for wearables too. The only watches you see are Apple watches.
Yeah, like I've had so many people stop me going, what is that?
What is this?
Because our Pixel Watch you're wearing.
Yeah, I love the Pixel Watch.
And
I love the look of the Pixel Watch.
You just reviewed it, by the way, so check out Mr. Mobile on YouTube for that.
The battery has died every night here.
Yeah, well, I sleep with it, so I'm really having to pay attention.
Well, I've woken up, jet lag, not knowing where I am in a dark room, and tried to check the time. I'm like, what is? It's the Pixel Watch.
It's battery's dead time.
Sad.
So any folding phone you are excited, like, going 6 months ahead, a year ahead, where you're tracking all this extensively, where you think we're headed this next year, 2023?
I think one of the ones we talked about is probably going to be the most interesting, maybe in terms of a variant, that Oppo Find N2.
Right.
Because that really captured, a lot of people don't remember it, maybe because, first of all, it didn't properly come to the States, right?
Yeah.
You got the international version, you have to import it, but also it came out in December. Now, Oppo drops these things in December when all of us, I mean, I don't mean to speak for everybody, but most of the tech media, I feel like, is like, well, it's December 1st. Time to do a bunch of year-end wrap-ups and then not work
and plan
for the
CES.
End of let's get ready for CES. The year is over. So Oppo drops these things in 2 weeks. They arrive 2 weeks after that kind of unofficial deadline. And so they don't maybe get as much coverage as they deserve just because of bad timing. I certainly cover them, but whatever. I'm one little channel, right? So, like, I think the Find N set ignited people's imaginations because it wasn't like a clamshell and it wasn't like a book style foldable. It was something in between. And I think that would appeal to a wide audience if Oppo decided to make a big deal out of it. The fact that they're making a second one says that they have the capacity and they have some belief in that form factor and backing it up with a clamshell. And we have a North American extension of that brand in OnePlus. And the rumor has always been,
ding, ding, ding.
That's what they're going to do.
That's what I want to see from OnePlus.
Yes.
In addition to crank up the volume on your flagships, don't do what you did with the 10 Pro where you come out with the little limited storage and RAM version and it's not competitive because Samsung's eating your lunch.
Yep.
If Google can sell the 7 Pro for $900, OnePlus, you have no excuse. Your BBK group, eat the freaking cost, make a phone that's better than Google's and sell it through the carriers, and then we're talking.
It would be nice.
Now, at the same time, if you want to really get that halo effect, that Audi R8 effect, as I used to call it, because that's really what started it in the car world 20 years ago, when Audi made essentially a Lamborghini rebadged into an Audi, and all of a sudden people are like, whoa, wait, this is an Audi? Like, oh my God, Halo
and
car.
People started paying attention
I'm now
to the whole
gonna buy
brand.
to the whole brand, right?
Yeah.
If you make a folding phone, taking the Oppo Find N2 and turning it into OnePlus with a little bit of cosmetic changes, I'd be willing to eat the stupid ColorOS stuff if you made that happen.
Same. And I would say the same about the clamshell. We know nothing about the clamshell. There's not even a leaked image about it. But given people's propensity to ask about the Z Flip all the time, ask about the Razr all the time when I carry it, that's, as we were saying earlier, that's the hotter thing right now as a clamshell. I would expect OnePlus to maybe lead with that if they were going to rebadge an Oppo.
Right, 100%.
Anyway, that's where I think that's where the next 6 months will get very exciting if we see that.
Totally.
Yeah.
One last bit of news for the week. Just want to mention it. Realme came out with their new numbered phone, which is every year there's 8, 9. This year's 10. So the Realme 10 is coming. That means that they only announced the 10. So I think we're going to get a 10 Pro and a 10 Pro Plus probably. They're going to be the more interesting phones to those of you listening to this show, watching. But I just want to mention Realme has the Realme 10 now, and it's very much what you'd expect. It's a very affordable 90 Hertz AMOLED, which is nice. It does have a MediaTek Helio G99, which is the highest end MediaTek 4G chip. So no 5G on this one. That's why the Pro will come out. And, the headphone jack's got a 50 megapixel main camera. 5,000 milliamp hour battery, 33 watt charging. And the prices are bonkers. Awesome. Look at that. $464 for $230. All the way up to $8,256 for $300. That's kind of similar to this N, but without 5G.
Yeah.
And so, that's pretty competitive. It's apparently coming to India and Europe and other places. So, yeah, cool. I mean, all I'm bringing it up is because I want you guys to keep in mind there's going to be a slightly better version. And usually Realme kind of pushes the envelope. They're kind of the new OnePlus.
I love all their weirdo custom phones.
The master
phones.
editions and the anime. Yeah. Oh my God.
I love
they're
that.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, so keep your eyes peeled for more Realme news. And we should wrap up. Michael, where can they find you? I mean, obviously they know, maybe, but
I make videos.
Your social media handles as well?
Yeah, no, I make videos at the Mr. Mobile on YouTube, TheMrMobile, and that's where I do most of the phone chat. And then when I'm, up until recently, I was also hanging out on Twitter a lot, but we'll see if that platform still exists by the time this hits the airwave. Let's not get sad about that, but I'm at Captain 2 Phones. Captain the number 2 Phones is my handle there. Let's hope, huh?
Yeah, well, speaking of Twitter, you know where to find me on the internet, folks. I'm at Tankgirl, that's TNKGRL on Twitter and Instagram. That's like the comic book character, drop the vowels, you get my handle. So yeah, if you want to chat with me and Michael about this podcast, Twitter is the place to go until Elon messes it up some more. And if you want to see pretty pictures of phones and cars and food and travel taken with phones, my Instagram is a good place to go. I'm not very good with reels, so it's mostly photos. Sorry for those of you who were expecting reels, but I'm photos. Anyway.
Same.
And then the podcast lives at mobiletechpodcast.com. We're on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Spotify, pretty much everywhere. If you have an app that lets you rate or review the show, maybe do that. That'd be helpful. I know a lot of the clients let you do that, like Pocket Casts and stuff, because I love my Pocket Casts.
I like Pocket Casts too.
I should have them as a sponsor. Hey, Pocket Casts. And then, of course, there is the Patreon. So patreon.com/tankgirl. That's patreon.com/TNKGRL. If you want to support the show and help me out, that would really, really be awesome if you join the Patreon. There is a bunch of tiers. One is the video version, as I mentioned. That's the biggest tier right now, the big one. And it's not that expensive, but check it out if you can help and you want the video version 2 days ahead of the audio with special treats in it, man. Consider that. And then there's a Discord, and then there's a bunch of other, you can just like donate a bit of money here and there if you want, just to help out. That'd be great. Also, I wanted to mention YouTube channels. We got a couple of them. I haven't really been very active on them the last 6 months, but I'm going to try to rectify that in 2023. So stay tuned. There is youtube.com/MobileTech naturally. And the other one's youtube.com/MobileTech Initially, I wanted to turn that into like a, not the phones, not the wearables, not the personal audio, but all the other stuff. Yeah. But then I got too busy. So now there's a bunch of cool videos there, so just go check it out. But you know how YouTube works. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, click the little notification bell, and more importantly, comment. Please comment, because you can comment about the podcast, you can comment about whatever is on your mind. I just love the comment process. I want to thank our sponsor, MediaTek. They're awesome. MediaTek's Dimensity 5G family powers the highest-end smartphones and brings flagship 5G technology to the mass market, so everyone can experience the power of 5G. With MediaTek Dimensity, you can expect incredible. And I want to thank you, Michael, for being my guest. Thanks so much.
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Come to my great jacuzzi room.
Yeah, damn right. Next time, Tubcast.
Well, folks, we'll have another show next week, so stay tuned for that. And until then, cheers, everybody.
This has been the Mobile Tech Podcast with Tank Girl, proudly presented by worldpodcasts.com. You can visit us online at mobiletechpodcast.com.